My next question is, should Somalians who committed fraud be denaturalized and deported, Mr. Bayou?
Again,
Yes
I'm not
or
sure
no?
that's an appropriate question because the majority of Somali
So if you
Minnesotans
commit
are
fraud in
citizens.
this country and you are here from Somalia, you don't believe they should be denaturalized and deported. How
Again,
much fraud would it take for you to want to denaturalize and deport someone who committed fraud in this country? How much?
Again,
That clip was pure chaos for the left. A simple yes or no question turns into stuttering, deflection, and fake outrage because Nancy Mace dared to ask something Democrats absolutely hate: accountability. When you can't say whether fraudsters should be deported or terrorists shouldn't get tax dollars, the mask is off. The hypocrisy was loud, the panic was visible, and the answers were non-existent. Smash like, subscribe, and stay locked in. Let's watch the full clip before I give you the full breakdown.
Thank you. As I listen to the witnesses answer questions today, I'm struck by the truly breathtaking amount of fraud, the scope and scale perpetrated against the American people by Somalians in Minnesota, screeching Democrats, like you just heard, at our witnesses. Democrats on this committee don't want to talk about Minnesota fraud because Minnesota fraud is Democrat fraud. You're going to make a great host on MSNBC. You're going to be great. And this is a cover-up. I mean, the very definition of cover-up. And so while we're still trying to understand the scale of the fraud, it appears that the amount of fraud we are talking about could exceed the size of GDP in Somalia, the size of its economy is what we're talking about. So let that sink in, the amount of fraud we're talking about. My first question is this, Mr. Bayou, this afternoon. Should Somalians in Minnesota be required to speak English, their citizens? Yes or no? Should they be required to speak English if they're American citizens?
I think that question's really inappropriate.
Should they? It's not inappropriate. This is the United States of America. Do you speak English? Should Americans speak English? Citizens speak English? Yes or no?
Point of inquiry, is English the official language of the United States? It's a question I
Mr. Chairman, I'm being interrupted again by another.
That's not a valid parliamentary inquiry.
I would like to reclaim my
Is that a
time,
citizenship
Mr. Chairman.
requirement?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to reclaim my time.
She's
That
asking
seems
the
to be a
witness.
popular
She's
theme
asking-
today.
That's not a valid inquiry.
It's a
Stop
point of
the
inquiry.
clock.
Women
That's
have
not
a right to
valid
speak in
inquiry.
this committee. Conservative
She's
women have the right to
asking-
speak
she's
here
asking
and
the
not be
witness on her
interrupted by
Daylight
my
without
male
a short.
colleagues.
Preston's already got
Mr.
that
Chairman.
MSNBC slot.
I would like to
recognizes
reclaim
Miss
my
Mace.
time. I lost like 10 seconds there.
Okay, we'll give you 10 seconds.
Okay, my next question is, should Somalians who committed fraud be denaturalized and deported, Mr. Bayou?
Again,
Yes
I'm not
or
sure
no?
that's an appropriate question because the majority of Somali
So
Minnesotans
if you commit
are
fraud in
citizens.
this country and you are here from Somalia, you don't believe they should be denaturalized and deported. How
Again,
much fraud would it take for you to want to denaturalize and deport someone who committed fraud in this country? How much?
Again,
A
Ms.
billion?
Mace,
9 billion? 19 billion? What would it take for you?
most Somali Minnesotans are citizens.
Right. And the ones that committed fraud, the question was, if you understand English, should be those who committed fraud, should they be denaturalized and deported? The Somalians who are here, the ones that can't speak English.
Yeah, so under U.S. law...
Okay, my next question for
Excuse me,
you
can I please finish the question?
No, you can't because you're not answering the question. My next question is, this is yes or no. If you marry your brother and you commit immigration fraud, should you be denaturalized and deported? If you commit immigration fraud, yes or no?
Again, that question seems really inappropriate. And if I can get
Well,
back
you
to your
can't answer
question,
my question, so that's probably more inappropriate. Can you name one significant contribution to Minnesota from a Somali immigrant who can't speak English?
absolutely yes. But again, this is...
You didn't name one. All right, so my next questions are going to be for the Honorable Ms. Robbins. Good afternoon. Thank you all for being here today. I heard some discussion earlier about al-Shabaab. And the discovery that you believe some of this money that was defrauded the U.S. government went to al-Shabaab. Is that correct? Did I hear that right?
Yes, it's been proven.
How much money are we talking about?
You know, we don't have an amount. So there's been specific cases where it's been charged where we have an amount, but then of the millions that go to Somali over the years in remittances, a portion of that we understand is taken as sort of a tax or corruption by al-Shabaab when it enters the country.
Can you explain to us who al-Shabaab is?
It's a terrorist organization in Somalia.
And they're affiliated with al-Qaeda, is that right?
My understanding is they are.
I am on the DNI website where it tells me that since 2014, al-Shabaab has killed more U.S. citizens than any other al-Qaeda affiliate. And as of 2025, al-Shabaab, this group, is al-Qaeda's wealthiest component. Can you believe that?
Yes.
And that American tax dollars through Minnesota, through Governor Tim Walz, who shamefully had to resign from his reelection the other day. Thank you to the young YouTuber Nick Shirley. This is the kind of thing that was happening in Minnesota. So I praise the Republicans who are here today from the Minnesota State Legislature exposing this fraud. And then, Ms. Robbins, when do you think Tim Walz became aware of the fraud?
I think he's been aware of it since the beginning. This was a huge issue in our state in the year he ran for governor, and the OLA reports came out, first identifying the child care fraud in March and April of 2019 when he was in the first months of his term.
Was Keith Ellison in on it too, knowledgeable, the Catholic turned Muslim guy in Minnesota?
Yes, they were all newly in office, and this was very public knowledge in Minnesota.
What role do you think Tim Walz and Keith Ellison played, his administration, in delaying investigations into the fraud?
So I've outlined several things where they stopped our ability to strengthen internal controls, and they also shut down the criminal investigations by the OIG and DHS.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back. I do have two articles, Mr. Chairman, that I would like to ask unanimous consent. This one on foxnews.com, Minnesota fraud probe will expand to other states. And then on house.gov, legislators blast DHS for revelations it had contracts with feeding our future.
All right, now that you've seen it all, let's stop pretending. Nancy Mace walked into that hearing and did exactly what Republicans are supposed to do. Ask clear questions, demand clear answers, and refuse to be gaslit. And what did Democrats offer in response? Outrage, interruptions, and word salads so thick you'd think they were getting paid by the syllable. The brilliance of Mace's approach was how simple it was. She didn't ask trick questions. She didn't ask hypotheticals wrapped in academic nonsense. She asked basic, common-sense questions any sane country should be able to answer. Should American citizens speak English? If you commit massive fraud, should you be deported? If you commit immigration fraud, yes or no, should there be consequences? And every single time, the witness melted like a snowman in July. That's because the left doesn't actually believe in borders, citizenship, or standards. They believe in vibes. They believe in feelings. And they believe rules are only for people who vote the wrong way. When Mace pressed on denaturalization and deportation for fraud, you could feel the room tighten. Not because the question was inappropriate, but because the answer would expose their entire ideology. Saying yes would mean admitting laws matter. Saying no would mean admitting fraud is tolerated. So they did what Democrats always do, refuse to answer and scream about decorum. And then came the moment everyone caught. The brother marriage question. That wasn't random. That was a warning shot. No names were said, but the message was crystal clear. Fraud is fraud, no matter how powerful or protected you are. Democrats hate that kind of sunlight, especially when it shines on Minnesota's political machine. But the most damning part wasn't the immigration exchange. It was the money. Hundreds of millions of dollars. Stolen, funneled, and some of it ending up with al-Shabaab, an al-Qaeda-linked terrorist organization that has killed Americans. Let that sink in. Under Democrat leadership, under Governor Tim Walz's watch, tax dollars meant to feed kids helped fund terror. And when Republicans tried to investigate, the administration stalled. The Attorney General shut things down. That's not incompetence, that's a cover-up. Nancy Mace exposed exactly what this is. Not Minnesota fraud, but Democrat fraud. A system that protects criminals, silences whistleblowers, and attacks anyone who asks questions. She stayed calm while they unraveled, and she proved why Republicans are right to demand borders, law enforcement, and consequences. This wasn't just a hearing, it was an indictment.